Welcome back to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price. You are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price.
It's the best of the best. It's the one and only DJ Ice, Louisville's coldest DJ.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Hey, good evening. Welcome to Conscious Fever here on Ice Entertainment Television and Conscious Fever Radio. I am Carl Price, your host. Welcome to the show tonight. We had a very interesting show tonight. We're talking about the Three Musketeers. No, the Three Amigos. The Three Amigos. Kenny Payne. You laugh. Kenny Payne, 45, stealing, and P. Diddy. You know, we tried to stay away from talking about P. Diddy because, in a sense, we didn't know it was true. But now we've run across this lawsuit that we're going to talk about tonight. And we still don't know if it's true. According to Mr. Mullins, he believes that maybe the guy has an axe to grind with P. Diddy. And not sure if he's making all of this up, but he definitely probably wouldn't have said anything had he been paid. But apparently P. Diddy didn't pay him. I think P. Diddy's a Gemini because they say he's very moody and goes back and forth. But anyway, but that's what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about those two. We're talking about those three. So let me set this up before we go to the a quick break and then bring Mr. Mullins in. In terms of Kenny Payne, most of you all know that Coach Kenny Payne is no longer. Is he a coach at all now? Okay, he's no longer a coach because he was let go by the University of Louisville. Since we're talking about 45 tonight, we might as well say he was fired from the University of Louisville because he had a horrible record the first 2 years. Some said it was fair, some said it was not fair. Paul thinks it was fair. It was time for him to go. I kind of thought the same. And then we're going to talk about, and I know I know y'all probably get tired of us talking about this man, but we're going to talk about Donald Trump, number 45. And if y'all have any idea how outrageous this man is, then you need to continue to watch this show all the way through until 10 o'clock tonight, because we're going to show you where apparently a House subcommittee in the House of Representatives, in the subcommittee, has discovered that for a $200 hotel room in Donald Trump's hotel in Washington, D.C., that opened while he was president, I believe, a $200 room, the Secret Service, to protect him and other members or other individuals, were actually charged about $1,800 for that hotel room. Did you see that, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to talk about that. And this is, I mean, this is the thug of all thugs, y'all. And I hate that we are making this show about him, because that's that publicity that everybody talks about that makes him more popular among people who don't pay attention to the political system, and they go in that booth and they have a split second to come up with the name, and they see Trump, your brain reacts, and then all of a sudden they vote for him. But this is something that we probably talk about. And I see one of the comments that Priscilla says he's a Scorpio, Carl Price. So that's cool. I mean, P. Diddy's a Scorpio. Oh, okay, got it. So and then the third person we're going to talk about, of course, is P. Diddy. And I don't know if it's just a thing that we discover that a lot of these entertainers engage in sort of what we might call some freaky behavior, or maybe it's just a shock that you don't think somebody like P. Diddy would be homosexual. Then all of a sudden it's discovered that real people are talking about his antics and being homosexual. We're going to talk about the lawsuit today, because the lawsuit is very, very graphic. So anyway, I'm Carl Price. This is Conscious Fever here on Ice Entertainment Television and Conscious Fever Radio. We're going to take our regular little 2 break so I can show off my name and all of that stuff. Then we're going to come back. We're going to bring Paul in, and we're going to talk some SHIT tonight. Be right back.
You are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price. You are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price.
Hey, welcome back to Conscious Fever here on Ice Entertainment Television, Conscious Fever Radio. I am Carl Price, your host tonight. Bring my co-host in. His name is Paul Mullins, Attorney Paul Mullins. I don't know why we call you Attorney Paul Mullins. And then I use Carl Price Esquire. Maybe one day we can tell the people the difference between the two. The Esquires are better lawyers than the attorneys are.
Is that right?
That's right. Hey, anyway, good evening, Paul Mullins.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Listen, let's dive right into this. I mean, we've got a lot to talk about tonight. You see it, the 3 Amigos, Payne out, 45 still in, and Diddy lawsuit. So let's talk about Kenny Payne first. Let's see if we can talk about Kenny Payne. So, Paul, he's out.
Yeah, great. I mean, not great, but okay, great. We had this discussion. You know how I feel. You know, like, I think everybody I've talked to knows how I feel. I love the fact that Kenny was a former U of L player. I appreciate the fact that we chose a former U of L player to come coach the team, but he wasn't getting it done, Carl. And I hate to say that, but dude, there's no way on anybody's school that's a top-notch school you can have 12 wins in 2 seasons. It's just not gonna work. It's not gonna work. I mean, Duke wouldn't stand for it. North Carolina wouldn't stand for it. UK wouldn't stand for it. Why should we?
We don't need it.
if we think we're in that league of players, I mean, league of caliber of teams, I mean, if we compare ourselves to all the upper echelon schools, they would never accept 12
Right.
wins in 2 seasons. Yeah.
Right. Well, the interesting thing is that, I think it was an emotional hire. And we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but I think it was an emotional hire. I think Kenny was an emotional hire. Hey, look, we're bringing Jeff Brom back. Now we've got Kenny Payne. Or
Right.
was Kenny Payne first, and then Jeff Brom?
I don't remember.
Okay,
But it was
in
around
any
the same
case,
time.
but there was this excitement about bringing
think
Louisville
Kenny's-
alumni,
Yeah.
Louisville Athletic alumni, back into the fold, back to the
It was a
University of
great idea.
Louisville, just to see if they could work some magic with these athletic programs.
I mean,
Now,
yeah,
excuse
Carl-
me, Jeff Brom did it. He just had a horrible
Right.
quarterback, but he worked some magic. And Kenny Payne just couldn't get it done. But I think it's safe to say now, no pun intended to Kenny Payne, because I heard he's a very, very nice guy. I mean, hell, he's more of a millionaire than he was before, if he was one before. He probably was one before, working at the University of Kentucky, but I don't know what they were paying him at the time. But Kenny Payne's a really, really nice guy. He just wasn't the fit for the University of Louisville, although it was his alumni.
And saying he wasn't a fit isn't really the right word. He was a fit. He should have
All
known.
right, English teacher, what's the right word?
No. I'm just saying he should have been a fit because he knew the culture. He knew what it was like to be a U of L. He knew the U of L experience. It should have worked. He just couldn't coach the X's and O's and get the Jimmies and Joes at the end of the day. And I don't know what else to say about this topic because I've said it over and over. Kenny just needed to win the games we expected him to win.
Well, Paul, on this article, that article that we were seeing that was beside you, and I think it's going to be beside me as well.
Uh-huh.
It says, "What went wrong?" This is a local sports writer here for the Courier Journal. What went wrong for Payne at Louisville? Many factors led to failure. I know you read the article,
Right.
so in Crawford's opinion, what went wrong?
I mean, it was a number of things. It seemed like I read that last week's article? I can't remember, but I remember we talked about it. But it was a number of things. But I think the primary reason is, I mean, damn, Carl, I've said it before. Everybody knows the primary reason is you just didn't win enough games. And Kenny had a late start on everything, pretty much to get in the game with the NIL. I mean, we all know what the reasons are, but I don't know how I said it so many times. I don't want to pour salt on the wound or whatever. I don't want to. Kenny's gone. I wish him the best. I hope there's no ill will against his family. I don't really want to talk about him at this point in a negative light because there's nothing else that can be said. I just think that we're better off talking about the new coach. Now I don't know the coach from the College of Charleston. I don't know that. Anything about him. But I do believe, as I said to you the last time we talked about Kenny Payne, he going to double Kenny Payne's wins. I've said that. I'll take that bet. And I don't even know how good a coach he is. I don't know why I'm believing that. I just, after what I saw with Kenny, I believe I hate to say this. I just believe just about anybody can come in and win more games than Kenny won.
Yeah, I don't think it was. I know people talked about possible discrimination and stuff. I don't think it was that. I just think that Kenny Payne just wasn't the fit. He wasn't the coach. I mean, obviously, you have commented, Paul, that he had good players.
I believe that.
I mean, in this ACC tournament game, the first game and only game in the ACC tournament this year, they won. One player scored 33 points, and the question became like, where was that the whole season? But anyway, listen. If you're watching us tonight, first of all, thank you, and but you can comment. We're gonna talk about some comments real quick, Paul. You can comment. These comments are now appearing right between me and Paul. And first, I want to talk about. So here's one. Strippergate fractured this program, according to our friend Alvin Brown in Lexington, Kentucky. What are your thoughts, Paul?
I can't discount that. I mean, Alvin's making a point. I don't think it fractured to the point to where, I mean, what I saw last year I'm sorry.
you know-
What I saw this year had nothing to do with Strippergate. We had decent players, and we should have performed better. Period.
I mean. So surely, and I don't know if this is what you're doing, Alvin, but surely you're not blaming. What was the girl's name? What was the girl? I can't even think of her
Katina
name.
Powell.
Katina Powell. You're not blaming Kenny Payne's failure on Katina Powell, are you?
Which happened in 2012.
Which happened in 2012. I mean, I think with Strippergate, I think that
the specter of having this cloud over the program that we could get punished for Strippergate some 7 years later
maybe
kept him from recruiting great players. Year one, his first year, he did have bad players. Okay, I agree with Alvin. He had bad players, but I'm tired of people poo-pooing on the players from this season because me and Carl had this discussion at lunch one time, and I had to point out to him we had a top recruiting class. Now, nobody believes that based on what we saw, but that's what we had. We had a top recruiting class. And when I say top, I mean top 20. So if you got a top 20 recruiting class, you can't blame it on these players suck because you had some of the best players recruitable in the nation. Now, I know people don't believe that, but I've always pointed out the players who were good players. They just weren't put in the right position. They weren't coached up enough. They didn't require enough discipline out of them. All that has to do with coaching. He could have got more than 8 wins out of those players. That's it at the end of the day. You could have got more than 8 wins.
Right. Well. Here's the thing. I don't. Well, I forgot my thought again. I probably should quit drinking this Red Bull, and I don't drink it a lot because it's full of sugar, and I'm not promoting it, nor am I encouraging it. But I think if Rick Pitino was here, I don't think that anybody would be saying Strippergate. But anyway, let's look at let's give us some more comments. Okay.
And I'd like to get your thoughts on the new coach. I know we don't know a lot about it, but obviously the new coach comes from the College of Charleston. I know nothing about College of Charleston basketball. I know nothing about his ability to recruit. I know nothing about his ability to play at a high level, but I do know that College of Charleston won a lot of games. And regardless of what you say about the guy, whether he's waited so long to jump into big boy ball or whatever, whether you think he'll be like a Scott Setterfield or somebody who went from the lower ranks to upper ranks and couldn't get it done, which, by the way, I thought Scott Setterfield was doing a good job, just not a great job. He's going to be better than Kenny Payne. I hate to say it. You just, 12 wins. I don't know why he would thump his chest about winning 4 games in the first season and then tell his boss, Josh Hurd, I'm going to keep my same staff because there was nothing wrong with it. Do you know how ridiculous that is, Carl? That you win 4 wins in one season and then you tell your boss, I'm not doing anything to change what I did in the first season? You realize how ridiculous that is?
No, I do. Okay. Yeah, I do. But in any case, let's look at this other comment. He says, I am saying that event removed Rick Pitino, and 4 coaches later, a terrible program.
Well, if you remove the event, Rick Pitino's still here. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I got you. Priscilla Fogel Johnson. Hello. We see your comment.
Ms.
Your
Johnson.
comment is, she says, is a Scorpio. I don't know if you're saying that Trump is a Scorpio or
P. Diddy.
P. Diddy is a
Yeah,
Scorpio.
because you accused P. Diddy of being a Gemini.
Yeah, he's a what you call. I mean, anyway. I'm not going to piss on Scorpios, but I wouldn't claim him. Here's another comment by Alvin Brown before we move on, Paul. He says Rick Pitino was removed because of Strippergate. Rick Pitino, he won a title, went deep in the NCAA tournament. His firing fractured the program. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Paul?
No, he's not saying Pitino himself.
That's what he said.
No, he's not saying.
No, I understand what he's not saying, but now that I said what he clarified, I'm asking you, what do you think?
I'm about to tell you, he's not saying Rick Pitino fractured the program. He's saying the fact that he got fired fractured the program because I think it did. It split the fan base. One thing I talked to you about earlier today was the thing that Kenny Payne couldn't get done was fundraising. Now, if this is a time of NIL and you got to have funds to give to the give to the players or give to the program. One thing Rick Pitino did, and one thing Tom Jurich did, which Alvin didn't mention, they fundraised the hell out of. They fundraised. They got money into the basketball program and made its program more profitable than a lot of schools' football programs.
Well, fundraising makes it sound like that they were out there selling Girl Scout cookies. But
No,
you're
no,
talking
no,
about
no, no.
basically they brought the people out. They made the money for the businesses
to donate.
They made the money for the contract that URL has with the Yum Center. Okay, cool. Well, anyway, at the end of the day, this is probably the last time we're going to talk about Kenny Payne unless he resurfaces. But Kenny Payne is out at the University of Louisville. At the University of Louisville, and he's not coming back unless he's going to attend the game. But he's got a lot of money. Too. Anyway, Paul, let's jump into another. We're going to jump into another commercial. Then when we come back, we're going to let's talk about 45 stealing. Let's talk about 45 stealing when we come back. So don't go nowhere, Paul. We'll be right back.
It's the best of the best. It's the one and only.
You can't handle the truth.
You are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price.
Anyway, welcome back. It's Conscious Fever, Carl Price, Ice Entertainment Television, Conscious Fever Radio. Listen, we have a tag here at the bottom. It says 45 stealing. And we didn't use Trump's name because Facebook has this thing with Trump. When they see his name, they'll just kind of disconnect us. So maybe y'all didn't know this. So we're going to talk about this. Paul, you're aware of this, right?
Yes.
And if you see it there, it says breaking. Looks like Donald Trump has to pay $1.7 billion to the federal government. That's the title. This is a story or post on Twitter or X from Politics Video Channel. Now, I will tell you in no uncertain terms, I have not vetted Politics Video Channel, so I don't know if it leans left or if it leans right. And I say that because that's very important, because if you're reading these political comments and the political commentary online, one thing you need to know so you won't be duped is whether it leans too far left or too far right. Because if it is, then it's sort of skew. And, too far left talks too much about Trump. Too far right talks too much about Biden. So in any case, I don't know which way it goes. But in any case, this is very interesting because this was a House subcommittee in Washington. And remember, the Republicans control the House. But this subcommittee, or this committee, investigating, the finances, sort of something similar to the finances of the federal government, discovered that Trump was overcharging the federal government. And by the way, Paul, I don't know if you knew this, but that is a crime. You cannot overcharge
the federal government.
What's that?
You can't overcharge the federal government.
You cannot overcharge the federal government. I didn't know it was a crime until I started looking at this story. But you cannot overcharge the federal government. So let's take a look at some of what this what they said. And again, if you want to comment, just comment. We'll post your comments and talk about it. But this one says Trump may have stolen $1.7 billion from the government while serving as president. How thuggish do you get? That's just like stealing from your mother under the circumstances.
I mean, I got a quick response to
Go
that.
ahead.
The moniker of stealing is implies that he actively stole. But what do you
mean when we say actively? Do you mean intentionally engaged in the conduct?
Oh no, I know he intentionally did it. So I'm trying to pick my words carefully. I know he intentionally did it, but he overcharged the government.
We got to be careful because he'll sue us.
Yeah, he overcharged.
Not realizing that we're lawyers and we wouldn't give a damn. But.
Right. The allegation is that he overcharged them for hotel rooms, which, first of all, that's the problem with having a businessman as president as opposed to somebody who wants to serve. Because if you're a businessman, you treat everything like a business. What's a businessman's number one goal?
Oh, it's to make money.
To make money, make a profit. Not just make money, but to make a profit.
Right.
So everything to Trump is a transaction to make him a profit. And when you go into public service, That's not true to say most people in public service aren't trying to make money, but most people should have the goal of doing a public service before they make money.
Right. And look at this, Paul. It says an expert calculated and revealed $1.7 billion flowed through Donald Trump's businesses while serving as president.
And to be neutral, that also can be a unfair characteristic. $1.7 billion flowed through, but is that all stolen money? Because if he charged the Secret Service $1,800 and he should have charged them, say, $400 or $500 or even $200, a certain portion of that is not stolen, quote unquote, money. So
yeah, so look at this post. This is something else that they said. It says during his presidency, Trump and his hotels overcharged the government and the Secret Service protecting him. House panel says new documents indicate Trump-owned properties repeatedly charged the Secret Service rates far higher than government rates, as high as $1,185 per room.
So what you're saying is he inflated the value of those rooms.
And the fact that the civil service, the Secret Service had to be there.
I don't believe Trump would inflate the value of anything that he owned to try to make it worth more than what it's really worth.
What?
I don't think he would do anything like that.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Come on, Paul. This is not the time to be sarcastic. This is definitely not the time for you to be sarcastic. I mean, but I'm just gonna take it as a joke. But a $209 per night room, he charged them $1,185. I don't know what the definition of thug is. Maybe y'all can help me understand what the definition of thug is, but this man has to meet it.
But see, that's my point. He doesn't have the mindset to not make a profit, whereas some other person might take that position of president and say, hey, this is my hotel. I'm going to save the people money and use that as a political scheme to say, hey, I'll let them stay at my hotel for free because I didn't want to take the money from. That's what I would think a lot of politicians would have done in the same situation.
Oh, wait a minute. I missed that. You're going to have to repeat that.
Oh, I think some politicians, a good politician, and is that an oxymoron, but a good politician would have said,
yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'm not going to charge the Secret Service for staying at my hotel that I own because I'm doing the people, the government, a favor. That's somebody saving them money.
That's somebody with ethics.
Right.
I'm not sure if 45 had ethics or has ethics. So let's see the other post on Trump 4. You got Trump 4 there. So it says Representative Jerry Connolly on Trump overcharging the Secret Service for stays at his hotels. Quote, here we have an egregious case of not only outright lying, but a level of venality that is jaw-dropping. Yeah. Right. I don't know, and I'm just going to put this out there. I know, people register and they swing either Democrat or Republican for this election. I just don't know how anybody can say that it is okay to really put this man back in the position of being the most powerful person in the world.
I mean, Carl, I'll go one step further. I don't know how anybody, even if you're Republican, how you can support what the whole MAGA movement stands for. I mean, right now, I ain't hijacking your show, but you know what they're doing.
Oh, you always do. Go right ahead.
But you know what they're doing.
Exception.
You know what they're doing in the House of Representatives right now. They're about to they're threatening to get rid of the Speaker of the House again. It's like they don't know what to do with power. They just want it.
Right, and you know what the consequence of that is, right? That means that as horrible, and it's not really horrible, but as contradictory as this sounds, a Republican majority House of Representatives may actually have a Democratic Speaker of the House. And Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't give a damn that might be the consequence.
I honestly think that I want to stick to the topic you brought up, but I think they're motivated by whatever Russia needs them to do. I hate that. That's That's an outlandish.
Sounds like
but,
yeah. Sounds
but
like a conspiracy.
it'll come out to be true later on.
Sounds like a conspiracy.
It is.
Here's a comment for you, Paul. Why don't you put us? Okay, by the Trump Bible, either money or Trump is the Antichrist. He is connected to both.
I said that.
Alvin.
Didn't we have that discussion a while back when I said, look up the definition of the Antichrist and he fits all of them? Was that like 4 shows ago?
Yeah, I was listening to a talk show earlier, and the lady on there, I just remember her face. She was a black woman with highly gray dreads, and she was saying that she was actually giving an explanation, Paul, as to why she believed that MAGA loves Trump so much.
I'm listening.
Because some of them believe that he has been attacked so much that they akin him to Jesus, and that he has overcome that. So they believe that he must be for us. He must be Jesus. He must, if he's not Jesus, but he must be like Jesus. And that was her point.
But
in
that's
that
what
whole
the
discussion.
Bible says the Antichrist will look like.
Yeah.
A false prophet. I don't read
With
the
orange hair and an orange face.
Read the other half of the prophecy. I mean, you can't have a coming of Jesus without a coming of the Antichrist. By the way.
Yeah. He says, "Yes, Paul."
All right. So back to your topic. Do we have any more screenshots of comments about the theft?
The theft. I don't know. Did we show all the screens? What's up, Willie Aiken the third, my brother? Thanks for joining us from the great state of New Jersey. Hey, man, what's going on up in New Jersey, by the way? I was reading some stuff. He is the Joker. Yeah, he might be the Joker, too. Willie Aiken, Paul says that said Trump is the Joker.
I mean, we crack remarks about, I was going to say joke, but we crack remarks about Trump. But the problem is that we cannot let him get elected because he's got plans to completely reshape the country. And I know that's a topic for another show, but he's got plans.
Yeah, but I think that, here's what I think. I think if he gets reelected, he will truly believe that he's invincible and that he can do any damn thing. And, the Supreme Court has just delayed the immunity ruling again. So it most definitely, he's not going to be tried in that D.C. case before the election. And I just wish the Supreme Court would stay out of politics. Law is so much better to practice when there's no political influence at all.
And most of the time, legal issues are not political. Most of the time, prosecutors prosecute.
Until today, Judge Cannon down in Florida.
Yeah.
It's so
bad.
Anyway, hey, Beverly Sarton. You remember Beverly Sarton, Paul? No. She was our individual from. She used to work at the Bristol on Main Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
She
know
said
her.
she
I didn't know her
tunes
last
in.
name.
Yeah. I've got to know her from this show, and then we come in. She's very nice to her.
Hi, Beverly.
Very nice to us. Alvin says Stephen A. said he is going to be reelected because of the missteps by the Democratic Party led by an unpopular Biden. Yeah, here's the problem with Stephen A. Stephen A. is fake, right? And
I don't agree with that. I like Stephen A.
I know you don't agree with that, but you don't know his history. Let me just tell you something. Stephen A. is fake.
Just put me in my
Stephen
place.
A. is where he is because he really was not credentialed to be where he was. He just got lucky. I think he was like a writer for a newspaper at a HBCU college. And I'm not saying, I'm an HBCU grad, so that's kind of a big thing. But I'm just saying that he didn't come up through the ranks like everybody else, like everybody else like the Syracuse grads and different people like that. So I don't put a whole lot of stock in Stephen A. Stephen A. got lucky this year, Alvin, because the Dallas Cowboys lost the way they did with Dak, and that's his claim to fame.
No, that's not his claim to fame. His claim to fame is he's got a huge audience of people who watch his show and respect his opinions or just like to disagree with his opinions. You're saying Stephen A. Smith
I'm not sure if that's totally correct,
You're saying
Paul.
Stephen A. Smith
If this
got
is
lucky in his spot, but Stephen A. Smith is a personality that people like to watch his show to get their emotions riled up.
I think Willie Aiken disagrees with you. Let's
that's
go
great,
take us
but
to the comments and look at this.
That's what it show's about.
And this is exactly the point I'm making. Willie Aiken says he's like Steve Harvey. They know everything yet know nothing. I totally agree. I completely agree.
I mean, sometimes his opinions are good, sometimes they're bad, but he's got a show where he gives his opinion. Just like you have this show and you're giving your opinion, but
but I don't claim to be. I don't claim to know everything. I mean, we just get. But anyway,
I'm sure
he is praising Trump to get conservative money as he is a guest on Fox. Yeah,
I don't think he's praising Trump.
You know, I watch his show sometimes.
I've never seen him praise Trump.
I actually watch his show. I'm going to be honest with you. I watch Stephen A. Because sometimes I just like watching a screaming fool. So I turn on in the morning when I'm here out in the lobby, and I watch Stephen A. And you know, I mean, Stephen A. is okay. I just don't give him the same credentials that I give Syracuse University journalistic graduates. I just don't.
What?
What
do you?
And Beverly, huh? No, I mean, I just don't, Paul. I mean, look, Paul, here we go again. You always do this. This is what you do at lunch because you're going to get us into a shouting match again at each other. I disagree with you that he's that way. I think you look at mainstream and Main Street, and you think everybody on Main Street is supposed to be on Main Street. I just don't think Stephen A. is one of those people. I really don't think that he's one. I know you do. I think
he's just like anybody else. He has a talk show where he's opinionated. He gives his opinion and is entertaining. Nobody said he had to be a journalist, like a 60 Minutes journalist who goes and investigates everything. That's not his thing.
He needs to read his notes like every journalist before they go on the air. You need to read your notes and make sure that you know what the hell you're talking about. I think he got lucky.
Wow.
I think he's just an entertainer, period. Yells too much, loudmouth. I agree, Willie Aiken. And then Willie Aiken also says this to you, Paul. He says, come on, Paul, stop it.
Come on, stop it. Okay, all I'm saying is Stephen A. Smith did not get lucky. He got where he is because he was the person who he is. If he was quiet and mealy-mouthed and a regular journalist, he might not be there.
He got lucky. He went from that newspaper. Then he went to, or maybe it was a radio station on a college campus or something. Then he went to a local radio station. I mean, a local station. I think it was a radio station in Philly. And then out of Philly, he got some break. Listen, man.
Howard Stern's got the same story. Did he get lucky too?
Listen,
Did
man.
all the great
Paul,
shock jocks get lucky?
You know, and I know that there's a lot of lawyers out here practicing that ain't got no business practicing only because somebody gave them a break. Right? There's a lot of, hold on, let me finish. There's a lot of insurance defense attorneys that really can't practice law. They're horrible trial lawyers, right? But they're there because somebody gave them a break. I put Stephen A. in that same category. Anyway, and the controversy made him.
You can have the last word on that one, but I disagree.
I know you disagree. But, Paul, listen, before we come back and take some of these other comments, listen, we're going to take another quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to get into this juicy stuff. We're going to talk about P. Diddy. And I would tell you parental advisory is suggested and recommended because this lawsuit that was filed by Mr. Jones, I forget his first name, by Mr. Jones in February of this year is a little horrible. But Paul has broken it down, and he's going to talk to us about why he is suspicious about this lawsuit. I'm Carl Price. This is Conscious Fever, co-hosted by Paul Mullins here on Ice Entertainment Television, Conscious Fever Radio. After this break, we're going to talk about Diddy. Be right back. Don't go nowhere. All right, hey, welcome back to Conscious Fever here on Ice Entertainment Television, Conscious Fever Radio. We're going to talk about, we're still talking about the three amigos. We're talking about Payne. We talked about 45 stealing money from the federal government, your money, to the tune of $1.7 billion. And now he wants to get back in there. And it's just like letting a thief, Paul, come right back into the storehouse where he's been stealing for the last 4 years or so. Anyway, now we're going to talk about the Diddy lawsuit. We're going to talk about P. Diddy. Now, let me just set this up for those who don't know. I know we're talking about the raid of Diddy's two properties in Miami and Los Angeles, and we talked about all the allegations that date back to, I think, around Christmas time or January. We talked about that involve allegedly TD Jakes and all of that. But many of you all may not know that there was a lawsuit filed in February by a former producer of this record label, Chalice, but there apparently was an album that was put out by P. Diddy, Love. You can tell I just don't follow P. Diddy that much until it gets juicy like this with all this sexual stuff. But apparently this lawsuit was filed, and it is extremely graphic. And Paul and I are going to talk about it right now. Let's look at some of these comments before we talk about it real quick. Okay, so go back up to where it says Paul was Perry Mason. Willie wants to know, Paul, was Perry Mason a real lawyer? In your opinion? I think it's a rhetorical question.
I know it is.
But I mean, I think he wants an answer.
It's obviously a TV lawyer. I guess that was to the comment about whether or not Stephen A. Smith was a real journalist.
Right.
And he's obviously a real journalist because he's on TV with, entertainment journalism. But that's like saying who's the guy on Fox News that I hate so badly? Sean Hannity, a journalist. Well, at some point he was, but now he's not.
Right.
But he's still on TV prosing as a journalist. But that doesn't mean he's not a journalist. He's just not a great one. I don't think people watch Stephen A. Smith for news.
Okay, and speaking of P. Diddy, I know you want to go back to Smith. I mean, not Smith. Stephen A. Smith. Look, all that I will say about P. Diddy is he was just doing way too much. Willie, we believe he was doing just what they do in Hollywood.
Right.
Okay? Just what they do in
Doing
Hollywood.
what everybody else was doing.
Alvin Brown says Trump and Diddy was raided by feds, both New Yorkers, both billionaires, supposedly, and both have been sued for sexual promiscuity and behavior. Okay. So let's talk about this. Let's not keep the people waiting, Paul. Let's just talk about.
Finish telling them about the lawsuit. Have you told them what the lawsuit?
No, we're going to talk. Why don't we talk about the lawsuit now? Because we're about 20 minutes out before we have to get out of here. So the lawsuit was really interesting, and so we're showing on the screen now, Paul. I'm not sure if you can see it. It says Mr. Jones was sexually harassed and assaulted by Mr. Combs. These allegations are really, really scathing. Let me just read this one to you before we get off the screen. It says, and this Mr. Jones claims that, and Mr. Jones was a producer, allegedly a producer that was hired by Diddy. But in this lawsuit, this is paragraph number 53. Throughout his time, it says, living with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones was the victim of constant, unsolicited, and unauthorized groping and touching of his anus by Mr. Combs. These events took place in Los Angeles, New York, and Miami, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. In addition to the unsolicited and unauthorized touching, Mr. Jones was forced by Mr. Combs to work in Mr. Combs' bathroom, and Mr. Combs walked around naked and showered in a clear glass enclosure. As a heterosexual Christian man, according to Mr. Jones is uncomfortable with Mr. Combs' advances and expresses discomfort to Mr. Combs' chief of staff, Christina Coram. Christina Coram responded to Mr. Jones' complaint with, Sean would be Sean.
Right. So there's other allegations that he was forced to have sex with women, that he was subjected to drug use, that he was, filmed without his, consent, that everybody was filmed, that they had drug parties, all the stuff, the salacious stuff that, the stereotype is about Hollywood parties. Only this wasn't in Hollywood, this is Miami. But all those things he alleges happened, and he's sued for his emotional distress, his damages, all of those things. But the gist of it is somewhere in that lawsuit it talks about him not getting paid.
Right. So here's the thing, Paul. Before we start talking about Mr. Jones's motive in this lawsuit. Let me ask you this. Remember the lawsuit that was filed by the young lady? I think it's a girl that he used to date for like 9 years or something like that, or something like some period like that. That was settled in one day.
Right.
Do you wonder why, with all of these salacious allegations, wonder why this one wasn't settled in one day?
Well, because I don't wonder why this wasn't settled in one day. This one couldn't be settled in one day because all the allegations that are made.
Oh, hold on one second, Paul. Okay, Trevor Small, good night to you, man. Wish you, man. I wish you would come back to homecoming. We have fun when we come back to homecoming. So anyway, go ahead, Paul. That's my buddy in the bar. He's in the islands. I know I'm going to get it wrong. He's not in Barbados because the other guy was from Barbados, the tall, light-skinned guy. Trevor was from, anyway, Trevor, you're gonna get me for that.
The short answer, the reason why you can't settle this lawsuit is there's too many defendants named number one. It is.
Yeah, but P. Diddy can get out. I mean, P. Diddy can get out of it
why
if he
would
wants
he?
to settle.
I mean, with the allegations made in there, you cannot sell it based on that he's called you a
Barbados.
homosexual.
Thank you, Trevor.
He's called you a homosexual. He
Good
said
night.
that you are running a sex trafficking ring. He said you're having drug parties. You can't settle that. Like, you can't. Your whole reputation is at stake. Now, you have a situation where your girlfriend says that you were abusive towards her. He's going to sweep that on the rug because it's just an isolated incident between two people.
I think it was a little bit more than what she said.
I mean, the gist of it was that he abused her as his girlfriend. I mean, she says she was raped, but she says it was his girlfriend. And she also, had money that he didn't pay. So he paid her, and we don't know how much it was because it was non-disclosed. We don't know what the terms of the sum was. He just figured I'd get rid of it. But the problem when he did that was that then as soon as he settled with her, everybody else came out of the woodworks and decided to sue him.
Okay, so here's our Alvin says there is a sweeping web net that will include other celebrities, possibly Cuba Gooding and others.
Yeah.
The spirits of Aaliyah and Kim Porter have brought down R. Kelly and P. Diddy. Well, you're right, Alvin, because Cuba Gooding is actually mentioned in this lawsuit as one of the men at P. Diddy's residence that actually made advances
towards Mr. Jones.
To this Mr. Jones.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of him with his arm around Mr. Jones, who I believe is Mr. Jones. And there's a couple of pictures in this complaint. This is a complaint that had actually pictures in it. You ever put pictures in your complaint, Paul?
No, I mean, this was a detailed complaint.
Yeah, it's very well. I mean, it's in federal court, and they like a detail. I said, KP, you might have to defend Diddy. Yeah, I'll defend him if he's got the money. But I'm not going to take it to trial if it's clearly guilty. I mean,
well,
if he's well, right, that's a civil case. But if it's clearly a situation where, there's a substantial amount of evidence. I mean, then he needs to try to get rid of it and try to salvage his reputation at a later date.
The problem